Hey guys, what's good? Coming at y'all with a quick video of a watch I recently picked up. This one, which is a reissue of this one. So this is the classic Seiko Turtle, the 6309. A desirable watch, one that's become more desirable actually. The prices for these have gone way up. Just a simple, easy dive watch that Seiko made in the, I think in the 70s. And they recently, I say recently, probably last year, about a year ago, they released the SRP777. I think this one has since been discontinued for a different version of this watch, actually. But you can see that they are visually very similar. Although holding them side by side here, it's very apparent that the new one is a little bit larger in every dimension than the old one. Let's set the time on both of them because I think that gives you an indication of which direction Seiko has gone with these reissues. Because even though they look very similar, they are very different inside. So let's check the time. I know it's April the 1st, and looking at this old thing, looks like it's about 13:22. This, of course, is the Tudor Ranger. Sleeper watch, guys. I mean, be on the lookout for a review of the Tudor Ranger. This is the new version, of course. If there's one Tudor I recommend you get, it's definitely this one. Okay, so it's about 13:22 on April the 1st. And so let's try to set the new one first. So screw down crown, cool. Doesn't hand wind though. So on the old version of the watch. So it's just kind of like, you know what I mean? You have to shake it to wake it up. And so it's April the 1st. So we'll go to the first position there. And it is Saturday. You can see that the date wheel is in a couple of different languages. And it is the 1st. So down sets the day, and then up sets the date. Looks like that was the 1st. It's hard to do this through the camera. You can see it doesn't hack either. Okay, so no hacking, no hand wind on this classic Seiko. So we said it was about, love the Ranger, just love the Ranger. It's kind of 13:23 maybe. So 13:20 and 3, done. So, and you just kind of screw that back in. Kind of 42 millimeters, a very cushioned shape though, so it wears very well on any wrist. 22 millimeter lug width, and there you see the back of the watch. So give it a few more shakes to keep it going. And then let's set the new one. So the dials look very similar, don't they? I mean, look really similar. Big difference, of course, you don't have the Prospex X on the old one. This one is, the new one is 200 meters water resistance. The old one is 150 meters water resistance, but the hand style is the same. All right, so let's set this one now. So screw down crown, but this one does hand wind. This is the Seiko 4R36 movement, which may mean something to some of y'all, but basically it's a 40-hour power reserve movement with a hacking function and a hand wind function. Big things in Seikos, although they are making it more common. So first position, just like before. That's how we're going to set our day and date. So let's see here. So we said it was the 1st. I want to leave it on the 31st, actually. I don't know if I'm past. And then we're going to make it. So this is a French date wheel. So look at that now. Movement hacks. See the second hand, it stopped. So big change from the prior one. Hands are ever so slightly larger. You know, nice smooth winding, nothing complicated. Good action on the crown, nice thick crown tube. And then there you see it changing over. Takes a little while for the day to come over. And we'll keep going, keep going. And then it is about 13:25 now. 1325. We're back on. Pretty close, pretty close. Screw the crown in. Easy. Not a signed crown, of course. To get a signed crown on a Seiko, you have to pay about $2,000 or $3,000. But yeah, beautiful watches, man. Let's check the bezel action on these. So first the old school, hard to turn. Hard to turn, maybe because it's like it needs to have a service, but I appreciate the thick teeth on this one. Like, you know what I mean? It's 2 rows of teeth, so yeah, this one's kind of jammed. I can't remember it was like that, or maybe it's been sitting for a while. So yeah, the old one, hard to turn. The new one, again, you still have the 2 rows of teeth. This is a really good bezel in the sense of like gripability. It's not too tall, but it's still very grippable, and typical Seiko bezel kind of action. This is kind of mid-tier Seiko, pro-spec Seiko. Kind of got like a lazy spring in there, but you know, not too much backward action. Naturally, you're not going to get a ceramic bezel at this price point. You know, an easy aluminum bezel, but yeah, there you go. Yeah, just a nice watch. Nothing spectacular, but you know, very competent, and very similar to the original, but improved in a lot of ways in terms of movement quality. You know, this one, I like the old 6309. I've had it for years, and honestly, prices for these old ones are just going up. I mean, I see some of these listed for over $500, $600, $700. I think I paid like $90 for this like 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 years ago. Just literally threw it in a drawer. I remember we took a vacation, kind of a long extended trip to Europe, and I just wanted something that I didn't have to worry about. This was, I mean, honestly, this was about 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. And so I took this watch, and it just worked really well, but the timekeeping on these old Seikos is not really good. Even after service, it's not really good. So, you know, they lose like, you know, several seconds to several minutes a day. So in that sense, I've noticed the timekeeping on the new one is a lot better. They both have 22 millimeter lugs. You know, they both have that cushion style case. You can see obviously this one is a lot more worn. Yeah, it's just a really nice watch, fun to wear. Let me put these on the wrist, and I'll be right back. Okay, guys, give me a second. Okay, we're back. Let's get these Seikos on the wrist. I'll take the Ranger off. Be on the lookout for a review of this this watch. Slam dunk, especially when you consider all the junk that this brand has been putting out. Tudor has finally like made a watch that makes sense for the brand. Big fan of the Tudor Ranger, highly recommend. Anyway, you didn't come to see a video about the Ranger. You wanted to see these amazing Seiko Turtles. Let's go old school first, old school, best school. I've got a simple NATO strap. I like these on NATOs. Another difference, actually, before I forget, the new version has drilled lugs, the old version doesn't. So that's a really nice value add for me. So drilled lugs on the new one, and that's usually not the case. Usually the new one doesn't have drilled lugs. So yeah, let's get the 6309 Turtle on the wrist and see how it feels. And as expected, it feels like really good, like an easy watch to wear, like really no drama, simple. God, that bezel just does not want to turn. I mean, but yeah, I mean, you know, timekeeping is below average, but then again, this is a watch from like the 70s, and it's like an entry-level 70s dive watch from a Japanese brand, so I'm not expecting great timekeeping, but it's, you know, it approaches adequate timekeeping. The build quality is very good, though, you know, and like I said, as recently as a few years ago, I took this on an extended trip overseas, and the watch just functioned well. I mean, I had no worries or no qualms about the watch, and I really like it. So that's the old one, and then let's see how the new one fits. So the new one, okay, so the old one, so prices for these are over $500 now for some versions of them, you know, so I mean, I don't know, I mean, I'd probably sell mine for about $500, $600, something like that. But, you know, prices have really gone up on these old Seiko. So these used to be a pretty good buy. Now, not so much. So we'll put the 6309 Turtle to the side, and let's see what the new guy feels like. Same 22 millimeter lugs, like I said. So, you know, all the straps will work. A little easier to change straps on this one because this one has those drilled lugs. And then let's see here. Of course, the NATO is in, you know, FDE. Got to keep it classic. Got to keep it old school. And then Yeah, so there you see the new one on the wrist. And as you can see visually and obviously, it is a little larger, a little bigger than the old one, but not substantially so, and not in a way that makes it unwearable. On the contrary, you know, they enlarged everything. They enlarged the markers, they enlarged the hands, they enlarged, feels like they enlarged the day and date window too, looking at them side by side. And in doing so, that slight increase in size makes the watch a little bit more legible. And it feels a little bit more, and admittedly, okay, I'm comparing like a vintage 70s diver to a modern watch, but it makes it a little more high-end feeling, you know, makes it feel a little bit more rugged, but also a little bit more premium. So I told you the old one, the 6309, prices are $500, $600. It's a vintage watch and it's a classic diver. That's appropriately priced. This one though, the new one is not that expensive though. I mean, the SRP777, I think MSRP on these was between maybe $375 and $450. It's still kind of like around $400, maybe $350. I think the SRP777 has been replaced by another version of the watch, which actually has a lume pip at 3 o'clock right next to the day and the date. Apparently there was a change in the ISO certification for dive watches that mandates a lume pip at 3 o'clock. And so to meet that requirement, I think Seiko did re-release this watch with a lume pip at 3. So yeah, I mean the SRP777, like an easy watch, not that expensive, and a nice faithful reissue, not an homage, but a reissue of a classic diver from Seiko. And I like it. You know, they're not that expensive. They offer you a lot of watch for the money. And honestly, I mean, the movement of the new one is just light years beyond the old one. And so, you know, while the old one does have a lot of nostalgia and while the old one is desirable to collectors, the new one, I think, is much more practical, has much better timekeeping. And it has some modern functions like hacking, quick set date, screw down crown, you know what I mean? All those things. So, all right, guys, the Seiko Prospex SRP777, the Turtle, returns again and again, and I'm sure it'll keep returning again and again like all Seiko stuff. All right, guys, thank y'all for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you'll like the quick look of the Seiko SRP777 and the comparison of this watch to the original, the 6309 Turtle. Guys, take care. God bless. Look forward to making some more content for y'all real soon. Bye.